Anyway, to inform a child that you are not interested in being a mother at a time when that kid is the only kid that has the potential to lead a child to believe that you are not interested in them specifically. Mother had also admitted to me that she didn't do the best job that she could do, which would also make one begin to question, you know, all of your past decisions and prior emotional interactions. But to be completely honest and fair, you know, those were things that I was willing to get over. You know, nobody's perfect, we're all human, but my mother showed a clear lack of humility, compassion, and consideration when taking any level of accountability for those things.
Okay, y'all, so it's been a hot minute since Monique's interview on Club Shay Shay, and y'all, the drama is not dying off anytime soon. It just got worse because now she and her daddy husband, Sidney, are in a fully blown war with her first son, Shalon. In the interview, Monique spilled a lot of tea about how rocky things are with her firstborn, Shalon, making it seem like it's all his fault that they're not tight anymore. But Shalon wasn't about to let that narrative slide, nah. He hit up TikTok and aired all of Monique's dirty laundry, calling her out for being MIA and straight up lying. But Monique's daddy husband wasn't about to let her son have the last word, so he decided to go live and throw some serious shade at Shalon for speaking his truth. Sidney daddy shamed Shalon for having the audacity to call Monique out, and he even dissed him and threw his mental health illness in his face. Now Shalon is making it very clear that he is ready to go to war over this, and he will not back down until he exposes Monique all the way. Did daddy Sidney really force Monique to abandon Shalon?
And I do want to address this though, Shalon. When you say her daddy, then that's when mommy gonna say stop playing, because you know this has been Uncle Sid your whole life. Uncle Sid knew you before you knew you. So for you to say her 3 sons, yes, you're absolutely right. He has 3 sons. He can't claim you as his son because he's always been Uncle Sid.
Yeah, y'all, it looks like there is some intense drama going on in Monique's family because her son and her husband daddy are at loggerhead war with each other, and there has been some push and pull between them. Like the other messy drama that she's been going on in Monique's life, in these past couple of weeks, it all started as a result of her interview with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay. The interview had the internet in a chokehold because of all the wild things she had to say about everything that happened to her over these past couple of years, including, but not limited to, her beef with Oprah and Tyler Perry, but also her strained relationship with her first son, Shalon Jackson. Well, Shalon was not just going to sit back and let Monique spread an untrue narrative about him and their relationship, and this led to a very messy back and forth between them. Now, everybody knows Monique and Shalon never really saw eye to eye on much, and their relationship fizzled out to almost nothing. Judging how Shalon recounted things, it's pretty clear that Monique wasn't the best mom to him. And let me tell y'all, from Monique's own words, it didn't sound like she really liked him that much. During her interview with Shannon Sharpe, he asked her about her relationship with Shalon, and Monique basically spilled the tea, saying that she was hustling hard in those early days of being a mom to him, and she just wasn't present like she should have, and like she is now with her younger kids, with her current husband daddy, Sidney.
I wanted the world to know me. And then once I had a son, right? I was very young when I had my first son. I didn't want him to have to go to a college because that was all that my parents could afford. I wanted him to be able to do whatever he wanted to do, and there was a sacrifice in that, right? Because when you're trying to go get it, you're missing this right here.
Oh, you miss a lot.
The nurture with this group, with my second set of children, I'm a different mother than I was then. So my whole thing is, even right now, we want to make sure that when we leave here,
When Monique referred to her kids with Sidney as her second set, it really didn't sit well with a lot of folks. It came off as if she was replacing Shalon, and that rubbed people the wrong way. I mean, it was another chance for her to be a better mom, but she could have phrased it differently, like calling them her younger children. But no, she went with second set, and it left folks feeling some type of way. But hold on, cause it didn't stop there. She also kind of owned up to not being the best mom to Shalon. Like, she straight up admitted it, and she was trying to do a way better job with her younger children than she ever did with him.
So my whole thing is, even right now, we want to make sure that when we leave here, our babies are good.
Right.
and their babies are good.
Once again, Monique's actions had people feeling a kind of way, and it just wasn't a good feeling. She seemed pretty nonchalant about Shalon, and she had an is what it is type of attitude, and that just did not sit right. I mean, she's the one who messed things up between them as the mother, so yeah, she's out here pouring all her love into her new kiddos and her new daddy man, but leaving Shalon in the dust, and even admitting that she didn't care for him. Well, to nobody's surprise, Shalon probably felt very salty about the whole situation and bitter, and nobody can blame him for that. Watching your mother, who never cared for you the way she should have, be the best of mom to her new kids while acknowledging that she didn't like you that much, and then when you try to reach out to fix things and build a relationship, she shoots you down. Yeah, if that's true, I'd definitely be salty, because that's more than enough to sting anybody, especially if Monique's apology wasn't exactly heartfelt, and judging by her attitude in the interview, it wasn't. So when Shalon tuned into the interview, because he definitely did, it went viral, he just wasn't having it. Monique had this victim attitude, like she was painting a picture that she was extending an olive branch and trying to fix things with Shalon, but he set that record straight real quick. He took to TikTok to tell his truth and how she was lying through her teeth. According to him, neither of them had made any effort to reconcile for a hot minute. They were both cool with keeping things the way they were.
To address the Club Shay Shay interview that she did, where she states that she prays to the universe in regards to reconciling their relationship, as I stated, is odd. My mother and I both know that that is a very false narrative, and I would like to free her of having to continue telling that lie. Faith without work is dead, and neither one of us cares to put forth any effort to reconcile with the other. We are separate, as she put it, because she doesn't care to be my mother any more than I care to be her son. Neither one of us has had the desire to reach out to the other in a very long time, and I don't think that either of us anticipates that feeling ever returning. Speaking with my mother directly, in my experience, will either lead to some odd newfound moment of clarity in regards to how she was as my mother, or she retreats back to daddy to move forward with a conversation. And I'm tired of hearing my mother's truths.
It's like Shalon kept giving Monique chances to step up and be a better mom to mend their relationship, but she just kept brushing him off, making him doubt his own feelings. And let's not even get started on the whole daddy thing about her calling her current husband Sidney that, because that's a whole other topic that we ain't finna get into right now. But we will refer to him as daddy husband Sidney. But according to Shalon, whenever things got tense between him and Monique, she'd dip out and let daddy husband Sidney take over and handle the situation and speak for her, even when it had nothing to do with them. But we'll get back to that in a minute. In his video, Shalon went into great detail of his not so great relationship with daddy husband Sidney too. Turns out, after being married to Monique for 18 years, daddy husband Sidney still doesn't see or consider Shalon as his son anyway. And again, that's gotta sting. But it gets worse, because according to Shalon, daddy husband Sidney wasn't too happy about Monique even mentioning Shalon in that interview. He didn't like that she referred to having 4 sons instead of just 3. You see, Monique has 3 sons with Sidney, so basically she's got 4 children altogether, but for some reason, daddy husband Sidney wasn't down with Shalon being counted as one of her own, preferring Monique just say that she has 3 sons, not 4. Yeah, that's crazy. And it kind of feels like he was trying to erase Shalon from their family altogether, because why on earth would he be bothered about her talking about her child? I mean, she wasn't even talking about the kids with Sidney, she was talking about all her kids, but somehow he was upset that she talked about her own son. Yeah, that's a little bit sus.
To those wondering, well, why say something now? Call it a form of therapy for me, I suppose. But when her daddy had intentionally stated that they have 3 sons, but his wife is on the internet talking about the 4th son in a video that has millions of views, that rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, Shalon also claimed to have some hard evidence revealing that Monique straight up told him she wasn't interested in being his mom. Like, can you imagine hearing that from your own parent? Like, that's just a gut punch. But it gets worse. According to Shalon, Monique also owned up to dropping the ball on the whole mom thing, admitting that she could have done way better with him. But when he tried to talk to her about it, she didn't own up to it. Even worse, Shalon claimed that Monique never showed any interest in being a decent mom. or putting in an effort until she tied the knot with daddy husband Sidney. It's like she suddenly decided to put on her mom hat only after she got married to Sidney and had his kids. She suddenly switched up and chose to be the mom of the year to her kids with Sidney, but when Shalon reached out to her to see if they could fix things now that she was a good mom, she shut him down again and wasn't interested in having a relationship with him.
But anyway, to inform a child that you are not interested in being a mother at a time when that kid is the only kid that has the potential to lead a child to believe that you are not interested in them specifically. But to take it a step further, you also admit, my mother had also admitted to me that she didn't do the best job that she could do, which would also make one begin to question, you know, all of your past decisions and prior emotional interactions. But to be completely honest and fair, you know, those were things that I was willing to get over. You know, nobody's perfect, we're all human, but my mother showed a clear lack of humility, compassion, and consideration when taking any level of accountability for those things. My mother does a fantastic job of acknowledging a lot of things, but she doesn't take accountability very well, and anything that she may take true accountability for, it's only at her convenience, in my experience. But if I had to guess, though, her interest in being a mother probably started around the time that she married her daddy and had his children. But that interest, you know, obviously seemed one-sided, and as it should have been. By that time, I'm in my late teens, so to some degree, the neglect becomes easier to hide or validate, I guess you could say.
The way that Monique was talking, it probably wasn't a very sincere or apology at all to Shalon. Well, let Shalon tell it. He said that she never really meant her words.
In the interview, she also states that she gave me an apology, but an apology to a son from a mother that consciously showed no interest in him holds no weight. Every time, though, that my mother would state that she was right here whenever I was ready, that ideology still blows my mind today, that a person could openly admit to being an uninterested, not put my best foot forward type of parent and be so self-centered that they still express to the kid, you have to come to me when you're ready. You got to come to me for us to make this right. Okay.
He also had this to say.
Well, I'm not sure what my mother could possibly think that she has shown me in the past or have for me now that's not money, goodness gracious, that would make me want to come to her or whatever those feelings are supposed to be. A mother is supposed to be the first woman that a boy falls in love with. I loved my mother very much, but my mother loved things more than she loved me, and she would validate her love for me by giving me things and would proceed to call me ungrateful or inconsiderate if said things did not have the desired effect.
So it seems like Monique tried to win Shalon over and all that, you know, by buying his affection with material things. But deep down, all he really wanted was for his mom to be there, be present for him, and to connect with him emotionally. But when he didn't react the way that she wanted to when she would buy him all that stuff, she totally lost her cool. And get this, he even threw some shade at her relationship with daddy husband Sidney, suggesting that she needed him to be around all the time to feel validated because he had her completely under his control.
I did learn how not to love from my mother. I also learned to make sure that I never lose so much of who I am that I have to validate it through another person.
But y'all, this ain't even the end of it. Shalon dropped another bombshell, claiming that he offered Monique a shot at being a grandmother to his daughter, and she turned it down. Like, straight up refused to have any kind of relationship with the baby. Like, Monique, why on earth would you be beefing with that baby? What did the baby do to you?
Genuinely, truly, I really did want my mother to have a relationship with my daughter. I even fought through those intrusive thoughts that were, if she wasn't interested in you, what makes you think she's going to be interested in your kid? But it took my mother no time at all to prove that those intrusive thoughts were correct.
And he then confirmed we all have been thinking this whole time, and that's the fact that Monique is a far better mother to her boys with daddy husband Sidney than she was ever to him.
When it comes to the boys though, I am happy that whenever they do hear me talk, sorry my phone did something weird, but whenever they hear me talk, they don't know what it is, they can't relate to what it is that I'm saying. My experience with my mother is not their experience with our mother. So my prayer for her and them is that they continue to see her the way that they see her now.
Y'all, it's a whole lot of family drama going on here, but one thing's for sure, Shalon's heart is hurting badly from this whole messy ordeal with his mom. And can you blame him? It sounds like he gave Monique chance after chance to step up and be a real mom, but she just wasn't having it, opting to throw money at the problem instead. But if she was always trying to throw money at him, I'm wondering how she handled things when she was blacklisted by Tyler Perry and Oprah. I mean, according to what she said, she was flat broke, like no cash flow whatsoever. She even had to hit up Kevin Hart for some money just to keep her head above water. So if she wasn't throwing money at Shalon at the time to keep up with her illusion in her mind that she was a good mom to him, I wonder what she thought her relationship was like. I mean, Shalon claims that she used money to justify being a bad mom. So what happened when she didn't have no money? But if things couldn't get any messier, Monique straight up refused to meet her own granddaughter. I mean, come on, in situations like this, most folks would soften up at the thought of a new baby in the family and eager to be a doting grandma. But let Shalon tell it, that was not the case with Monique. Shalon says she put her foot down and shut the door on meeting her granddaughter, which is just cold if it's true. But there's always two sides to the story, and there's a third side called the truth. But let's dive into it. Now, I'm not gonna play devil's advocate for Monique here, but there might be more to the story, y'all. Monique spilled her truth about her toxic marriage with Shalon's daddy, even mentioning DV as one of the reasons that her relationship ended. Now, this doesn't excuse her behavior, but it's definitely worth considering that survivors of DV often try to distance themselves from anything that reminds them of the trauma. So maybe, just maybe, Shalon represents his dad in Monique's eyes, and that's why she's not feeling that motherly instinct towards him. But on the other hand, maybe she's just a bad mom, plain and simple. Especially when you factor in what Shalon said about daddy husband Sidney not liking him, and how Monique is more than comfortable with her daddy husband Sidney to be a hater towards her own child. There's also the fact that Sidney got all touchy when Monique referred to having 4 sons instead of 3. But anyways, Monique and daddy husband Sidney decided to address Shalon's claims head first. But let's just say this, it didn't exactly help their case. The things they said and the way they said them only added fuel to Shalon's fire. Monique started off by firing back at people who dragged her for how she treated Shalon, and she said that she would never be ashamed of her mothering skills.
There was Instagram that was put up, or I guess?
It was TikTok, baby.
TikTok that was put up by
my son. My oldest son, Shalon. And this is what I want to say to this. There are some people that are saying, oh, you should be ashamed of your mothering skills. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is what I'll say. Let's let it play out. Because the same ones that said to me I was crazy, I was deranged, we watched it play out. So just like with my son, we'll watch this play out.
Now, y'all remember how Shalon said that daddy husband Sidney didn't consider him as a son? Well, Monique defended him, saying that the reason that daddy husband Sidney didn't consider Shalon as his son because Shalon always called Sidney Uncle Sid, and he knew him since he was a little boy.
And I do want to address this though, Shalon. When you say her daddy, then that's when mommy gonna say stop playing, because you know this has been Uncle Sid your whole life. Uncle Sid knew you before you knew you. So for you to say her 3 sons, yes, you're absolutely right. He has 3 sons. He can't claim you as his son because he's always been Uncle Sid, and he knows your daddy very well.
But y'all want to know what's really baffling? Like, if he's been sitting there watching this child grow up, wouldn't he automatically fit right into being able to see Shalon as his own son? Knowing him as a child is more of the reason that he would consider him as a son. I mean, how on earth you know him since he was a baby, married to their mom for 18 years, and now you won't call him son? Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's definitely some family drama. And remember how Shalon mentioned how Monique relies on daddy husband Sidney to do all her talking? Well, she pretty much confirmed it by letting Sidney take the lead in their sit down with Shalon. I mean, Shalon was addressing his mom directly in the video, trying to hash things out between them, but there he goes again, speaking up for Monique like it's his job, which is kinda weird. It definitely backed up what Shalon was saying about her depending on husband daddy Sidney to speak on her behalf.
And the irony of all of this is not what is said, but what's left off.
Yes.
See, you're leaving off the fact that the last time we laid eyes on you, your mother got you everything you needed for the newborn baby about 3 years ago. You're forgetting about how I, from Georgia, am talking you through getting your car after we gave you the half the down payment for it. And you were 31 years of age, 32 years of age at that point. And I'm negotiating the deal with the dealer for you as you sit there. And you have the vehicle you're driving right now because of your mother. These are the things that you're leaving out when you're expressing what you're expressing in reference to your mother. You're not expressing.
I don't know, y'all. There's a whole lot of we's. I mean, when you're married, it is a we, but it was just a little overboard. It was like he was the man that was bringing all the cash in the house. But that's definitely Monique, so he probably should take a couple of seats and sit this one out. But he pretty much validated everything Shalon said, making it crystal clear that money is still their main focus. In his video, Shalon spilled the tea about how Monique used to try to make up for things with cash and gifts instead of actually dealing with the real issues. But somehow, husband daddy Sidney thinks it's a flex to brag about buying stuff for Shalon instead of, you know, being a real parent who's there for their child. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get any messier, he had to go and hit below the belt, bringing up Shalon's struggles with mental health. Like, seriously? Are we doing that in 2024? Making fun of people's mental issues just to try to get some gotcha moment? Yeah, that was very low.
And when you learn how to communicate a little bit better, then things will happen a little bit better. You young man, because of the challenges that this young brother has had with mental illness. So we're communicating that out loud to speak to our community, to say, listen, y'all, if we have more public conversations, there will be less private angst.
I'm not sure what they were hoping to achieve with this video because it only made things worse for them, because it only showed that Shalon was not lying about the things that he accused Monique of. And fans dragged Monique for sitting there and laughing while her daddy husband spoke so poorly of her own child. It's weird that she is more happy to watch her husband shame her own son in public and she did nothing about it. She didn't try to defend her son or even check her husband for being so cruel. This just confirms Shalon's words of how daddy husband Sidney has been hating on him and how Monique was more happy to let it happen. Word on the streets is that Shalon is sick and tired of watching his mom and her husband drag his name through the mud when they're in the wrong, and he is now threatening to drop some new evidence of how Monique and Sidney have been treating him so badly over the years, and he is not about to let them get away with it. Fans have been dragging Monique and her husband for filth, saying stuff like, if the source of me and my mother falling out was her husband and she chose to address it with this said husband next to her, I'd have to block her and wish her the best. Thinking about this, the fact that Monique calls her husband daddy and all his 3 biological sons call him dad, but his stepson refers to him as Uncle Sidney rather than pop or dad, as well already others, and isolates him as a child within their household. It's so effing weird. And I'm standing with you on this too. Monique and her husband are hella weird. He is her downfall and she worships him. I can see her being an absentee mom, especially if her overseer told her to be. Y'all, this is some family drama, and I don't know if I want to be in the group chat or not, but it's just really sad the way things are playing out. But let me know whose side are you on. Are you team Shalon or are you team Monique? Or are you team get me out the group chat? Drop your thoughts and comments below and then check out this next video.